Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP Oathbreaker Paladin Warlock multi-class build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. Now this is an extremely powerful class that can get up to 3 attacks if you're not playing on Honor mode. So I'll be going through this and going all the way through the leveling. So we did have to respec, which lost the Oathbreaker Paladin, but I'll be going over the way to go about that. So we're going to take the Vengeance Paladin until we break our oath again. Although you can go with the Oath of the Ancients because this is easier to break. So you can go with either one of those, but the Vengeance Paladin has a bit more offensive might, with the Inquisitor's Might adding your Charisma modifier to radiant damage and potentially dazing the targets. And I'll be going through the full leveling guide here, what we want to go with for stats, and how to play this. So, Charisma being our big skill that we want to have a lot of focus on, so we want to get that hopefully up to around 16 to 17. And if you are playing as a Tav or Dirge, you can use your Hags here to take this up to 18, and our first ability score improvement will take it up to 20. If you're not, leave it at 16. Having a good amount of Constitution is important, but later on in the game we can get the Constitution Amulet, and this is a pretty good build to have it on because we're so offensive. Having a bit of armor class, or having a bit of strength and dexterity is important because having our dexterity means we're going to have higher initiative. We're kind of multi-attribute dependent, but dexterity would be the one that we could kind of forego in terms of having your stats up high. But even something like this is a good spread, getting yourself a little bit of an increased initiative there, as well as the benefits from dexterity. And strength, ideally we could get our strength up higher, but we can also go with strength potions if you want to. Take it up to 16, something like that. So around here looks good for our ability score, and you can go 17 charisma if you're going to be playing as a main character. Now, I'll go over the gear at the end. This build is actually really strong. So at level 2 Paladin, we get ourselves Divine Smite. This is our major source of damage because this deals an additional 2d8 radiant damage, and we get additional damage on fiends and undead. So Paladins are quite powerful. Now, great weapon fighting is actually really good. So when you roll a 1 or 2 on a damage die for an attack with a two-handed melee weapon, that die is rerolled once. Critical hits also get their damage rerolled, as well as your Paladin Divine Smite. So this is actually a really good one to take. Although defense can be great to get your armor class up, and especially early on, you might actually rather go with the higher defense than taking the great weapon fighting. But great weapon fighting is just going to be flat out higher defense, or higher offense, and then the defense, obviously, higher defense. I want to take that, though, to show you what the armor class can get itself up to. As for our spell selection, I think it's best to get Command. This is actually an incredible skill because it can cause... You can literally shut down the enemy team by just Command Drop or Command Grovel. Searing Smite, Thunderous Smite, and Wrathful Smite. These all require you to do... Or these all require a bonus action. Wrathful Smite, however, can possibly frighten the target, which is kind of a last-ditch Hail Mary attempt to shut down the enemy, because Frighten is really good. If you don't have a Cleric, put on Bless, but you're going to have other things to concentrate on later on. And Divine Favor is not a bad other concentration. Give yourself additional Radiant damage. Or Shield of Faith to increase your armor class. Especially early on, that can be nice. And even Cure Wounds can give you some healing early game, which is not bad. Although you're probably better off throwing potions to not use an action on that. We're going to go with Divine Favor because that extra Radiant damage is not bad to have it all. So, at next level, we get ourselves a Divine Health so we can't get diseased. Abjure Enemy will frighten an enemy. Vow of Enmity is actually really good. 10 turns of advantage on attack rolls is really good. So, that is awesome. And we get Bane and Hunter's Mark. But you'll be getting different spells as the Oathbreaker Paladin, which I'll cover in a moment. So for the next level, Compelled Duel is not that amazing. Heroism can be okay, so we'll go with that there for our level 3 Paladin. Now, the Warlock adds a lot of nice stuff to this. So, as an Oathbreaker, we get Spiteful Suffering, which is our channel Oath, gives us necrotic damage delayed. We also get Control Undead, which can take control of an undead. And I guess at level 4 we get ourselves a feat, so I'll take that and continue talking about the Oathbreaker skills. So we'll take maybe Shield of Faith just for something there. The Paladin doesn't get a lot of spells, unfortunately. Now, taking an ability score improvement is kind of the best way to go here, I would say. Warcaster could be okay if you find you want to hold concentration for longer, but we really don't need it that much. When you make melee weapon attacks, roll your damage die twice and use the highest result. So Savage Attacker is actually really good to just flat out increase your overall damage. But I do think that the ability improvement to take up our charisma is kind of the way to go here. We also get Dreadful Aspect at level 3, which is a nice potential frightened targets within 9 meters, which is really good. And the Oathbreaker Paladin also gets Hellish Rebuke, which is an awesome skill to get because it's a reaction. And anytime we get a reaction, it's awesome. At level 5, we get ourselves the extra attack and level 2 spells alongside. This is the Vengeance Paladin. So if you want to go Vengeance for Hold Person and Misty Step, that's honestly not bad. But at level 5, the Oathbreaker would get Darkness and Crown of Madness, which I actually think Hold Person and Misty Step is a little bit better, but still, that's pretty good spells either way. And for our next leveled spell, I would recommend just taking the Branding Swing's not amazing because it also uses your bonus action, but we'll take it just in case you need someone that to stop turning invisible. Magic Weapon gives a +1 to attack and damage rolls, which is kind of nice. Concentration that lasts until long rest. Aid is another good one, especially if you're going to have a Necromancer around, because you can use this to increase health points by upcasting, even though we don't get as many spell slots. I want to go with Magic Weapon there for our spell, but that extra attack really is a big power spike for the Paladin. At next level, we get ourselves the Aura Protection, and then at level 7, we would get the Aura of Hate, which would add the Charisma modifier to undead attacks. So if we have a bunch of undead in the area, they'll get a nice benefit of +4 to their damage, and eventually +5. So if you got a Necromancer in your team, like a Necromancer Wizard, they actually pair very well together. Now, for our added in class, we're going to obviously go with the Warlock. This adds a lot of power to the Paladin because we get ourselves higher level spells and we get some actually really strong spells and strong cantrips. So we obviously get the Almighty Eldritch Blast. Now, Bone Chill is another nice one because it can prevent the target from healing. Minor Illusion is also really good because you can group enemies together, drop a fireball on them. Mage Hand can be good too for throwing health potions or water bottles. I'm going to go with Minor Illusion, but even Friends is good for if this is your main character. I think the Fiend is the best because we can get a few spells that, like Fireball and Wall of Fire, that are really good. And we also get Armor of Agathis and Arms of Hadar. And then every time that we take out an enemy, we get additional 5 temporary health points. So that's pretty good just for survivability. For our next level, or level spells, Hellish Rebuke, we would get from the Oathbreaker, so I wouldn't recommend fully taking that one since we will be getting it as an Oathbreaker. But anytime you can get a reaction damage dealer, that's good. We also get Hex here, which will deal an additional 1 to 6 necrotic damage to the target and give disadvantage on an ability of your choosing, which isn't really as good as it sounds. It's only really beneficial to Hex their Wisdom to lower their chances of spotting you if you're doing stealth. So Armor of Agathis is really good to get temporary health points, even though we already get it from another source, but it will add cold damage to us. And then also Arms of Hadar to prevent target from using reactions. So I'll go with that there for extra necrotic damage. And the Warlock actually adds quite a bit to this build. So at next level, Witch Bolt isn't amazing, but sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a different damage source. So either Armor of Agathis or Witch Bolt. We do get temporary health from other means, so this may be something you might not want to take. I would personally take Armor of Agathis, but even Witch Bolt, not amazing, but a 1d12 of lightning damage that can be upcast, and you can keep channeling it every turn. It's not bad, especially if you have a water build, but I'm going to go with the Armor of Agathis there. Now for Eldritch Invocations, the two that just stand out, Agonizing Blast will add our Charisma modifier to the damage of the beams, and Eldritch Blast actually scales off character level, so we get 3 beams at around level 11. So that adds a lot of damage from the Charisma modifier, plus Repelling Blast will push enemies back 4.5 meters. That is really good. Although Devil's Sight is actually probably the best Eldritch Invocation if you're not going to be using Eldritch Blast as much, because you can see in darkness, both magical and non-magical, up to a distance of 24 meters. So, no other character can see in magical darkness other than the Warlock, making that an essential take, but I'll be taking that at level 5. Now, level 3, we get to pick our Pact Boon, and we get some higher leveled spells, so we already got Hold Person, but I would recommend taking Scorch and Ray for a little bit extra fire damage. It's a really nice one. And if not, taking Hold Person and Misty Step are good if you don't, since we won't get it from the Oathbreaker. As for our Pact Boon, Pact of the Blade, this is where we get everything coming together. So this allows us to use Charisma for our attack rolls. And at level 5, we will get an additional attack. Now, I just want to note, this doesn't work on Honor mode. You only get the 2 attacks. They don't stack. But still, that's pretty good. And at next level, this build's still decent at Honor mode because the Warlock does add quite a bit to the Paladin that the Paladin just doesn't get. My favorite Paladin build, however, is Paladin Bard if you're doing Honor mode, because you can do Flourish Smites. We'll take Bone Chill there, and for our next leveled spell, some people like Cloud of Daggers. Mirror Image can give you +9 armor class, and you lose 1 every time you get attacked. Darkness is a good spell. We're going to get Darkness from the Oathbreaker, so take Hold Person, but we're going to take Darkness since we didn't get it. What's nice about the Oathbreaker is there's a bit of overlap there. Now, we're going to take Ability Improvement to take our Charisma up. Now, if you use the Hags here and hit Charisma 17, Alert is really good for a +5 to Initiative and Can't Be Surprised. That is extremely effective, so I'd recommend going with that. Or go with the Savage Attacker just to re-roll your damage die and deal flat out more damage. So now at level 5 we get our 3rd attack. So this is crazy because at level 10 we get 3 attacks, which is quicker than the fighter. So very nice. And for our next level spell, Fireball just makes perfect sense. I really like Fireball. Hunger of Hadar is another really good one though. This is a crowd control, large area, 10 turns, 2d6 cold damage at the start of their turn, and 2d6 acid at the end of their turn. So this is really good. Also blinds targets, so this is great crowd control. And we're going to take Devil's Sight. So level 5 Warlock actually has quite the spike in terms of its offensive output. At our next level, we'll take Fireball, because why not? Fireball is just a great spell. Vampiric Touch can be okay. It does deal necrotic damage, which is not amazing, but it will deal damage, or it will give you your health back, which is awesome. But even Fear is a good spell. It makes the target drop their weapons. For some reason, targets don't pick up their weapons again, so this makes them pretty useless. I really like Fear, but we're going to go with Fireball, because it's Fireball. At Warlock level 7, our final level, we get our level 4 spell slots, and I think Wall of Fire is a pretty solid one, because this is almost like crowd control, 5d8 of fire damage. You can create a wall, block the enemies from moving around. It's really good. I don't love using counterspells since the Warlock doesn't get that many spell slots to use. And for our final Eldritch Invocation, Dreadful Word to cast Confusion is with the Warlock spell slot's nice, because, I mean, Book of Ancient Secrets is okay. You only get a level 1 Necrotic Orb for free. So all these spells are for free, which is not bad. But even Beguiling Influence is great for proficiency in Deception and Persuasion. I actually really like that because it's super useful in a lot of situations. You're going to use Deception is more so for evil characters. Persuasion is more so for like good characters. But even using both of those, getting proficiency in it is huge. Fiendish Vigor can be okay too. Give yourself temporary health, although we do get that from other methods. It doesn't expend a spell slot, which is really nice. Even you can go with whatever you want for the last one. I'm going to go with Beguiling Influence though, because it's helpful to get that proficiency. Even Speak with Animals is pretty good if you don't like using the billion potions that the game gives you. Now for the gear, that's where this build gets really effective. So I got the Balderon Giants Slayer here because on hit, double the damage from your strength modifier, and this weapon gives you advantage on attack rolls against large, huge, or gargantuan. So while we're using our Pact of the Blade, I'll show you this, which is kind of cool. Disengage the camera. So we're going to want to be using our Pact of the Blade here. So, that's the summon one. This is the one that we want to use. So this is going to bind our weapon to us, and then when we go to attack, we got a pretty good amount of damage there, plus 17, because it's going to double the strength modifier and add it to the attacks. That's really good. And doubles the damage from our strength modifier on top of that. So total damage 2d6 plus 9, 2d6 slashing, plus 6 charisma, weapon enhancement plus 3. Pretty good damage. And I'm using the Birthright hat. I'll go over all the gear. So there's the stats. I do have the Elixir to Cloud Giant on, because that's just going to give you even higher strength. Cloak of Protection, really good for +1 armor class. Armor Persistence gives you -2 to all incoming damage. Resistance and Blade Ward, which gives us a nice boost to our have resistance to all physical damage types, plus 1d4 saving throws. So we're going to resist spells a little bit more frequently. This gives us a +1 to spells attack rolls and spell save DC. So our things like Hold Person will be cast at a higher chance of hitting. And then we also attack with more frequently with something like our Scorching Ray or Eldritch Blast. And then we deal additional 1 to 6 fire damage with our attacks, so that's good. Also have the Evasive Shoes on for +1 armor class. We got a nice 24 armor class there. I have the Killer Sweetheart, but you can also go with the Crypt Lord Ring. I have that on my box right now, but the Crypt Lord Ring will give you a free Undead summon at level 6, which is a level 6 spell is really good for free. Amulet Greater Health will give us a nice 141 health, which is just good to have, and advantage on Constitution saving throw proficiency. So what's nice about that is we can cast Hunger of Hadar and hold our concentration on it. I'd also recommend having some hand crossbows, even though it's best to use Eldritch Blast. Even just having these is a good, even just the regular ones if you got it is not bad to have. And the Near Misser is nice because it deals pure force damage, which is great. Even the Gaunter Mail, which can give you Celestial Haste, is a nice one to go with. So we can give ourselves haste and get an extra attack. and topple the big folk. This is a really good attack here. We're pretty offensive because we can go in and deal 2 to 35 damage there, and we have our Divine Smite set on critical hit so that we can deal a ton of damage. And what's nice is we can also have it upcast with our level 4 Warlock spell slots. The nice thing is, Divine Smite only gets scaled up to level 4 spells. So when we have that, it deals upwards of 25 to 75 damage. So that's really good. And if we end up missing, we won't expend a spell slot. So that can be extremely offensive. Deals a big 0, but that's because she has that block on there. We can also go with the Inquisitor's Might, which is going to take our Charisma modifier and add it to the damage. So this will get even crazier with that +6 Radiant damage. And then on top of that, we got Divine Favor that we can cast on us. So it gives us even higher damage, upwards of 45 damage. And there's even ways you can go further with this. Now, Celestial Haste is really good if you don't have another concentration on, because getting the extra damage at any time is always going to... Anytime you can get extra damage in, like Celestial Haste gives you 6 attacks, that is really good. Our typical way about going about combat is we would want to drop a Hunger of Hadar. Now, this doesn't get upcast benefits, which is kind of unfortunate. So if you want to go with 6 levels of Paladin, 6 levels of Warlock, that can work too. But our Fireball will get an additional scaling. It goes upwards of 96 damage, which is really nice. And then we got the Firewall there. So we got a few... These are our big heavy hitters for damage spells. But then we can also even cast our Scorching Ray as a level 2 Paladin spell slot. So that's really good. Hold Person. We got lots of great options here. Misty Step if we need a bonus action. Get out of there. Minor Illusion, which you'll see. Minor Illusion is just going to group enemies together. So you can use that for sneaking around, or you can use it for just going boop and dropping a fireball on them. But there it is. That is a very powerful Oathbreaker Paladin mixed with the Warlock. So yeah, the Oathbreaker is extremely powerful, but there it is. If you found this video useful, please hit that subscribe button below. If you have any comments, also leave them in the comments. Or if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'm always responding to comments as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.